Anonymous. State of corruption. In this video you will see that the deep state have been following Mike Gill's every move. Some evidence point towards the Shaheens following Mike Gill. The way that the deep state follows Mike Gill is sort of like Men in Black from Area 51. These people follow whistleblowers to make sure they are silenced. But these hostile actions does not stop Mike Gill. Anonymous will continue to seek evidence against the deep state, corrupt cronies of New Hampshire until they are brought to justice. Sooner or later they will lose this war against Mike Gill. Eventually one of these days these drug dealers in New Hampshire, Alex Walker, Bill Shaheen, Dick Anagos will have to wind up paying restitution for Mike Gill when and if they wind up in jail. Watch the following video, where Mike Gill explains his adventures living undercover, and trying to avoid being captured by the deep state. Anonymous is always open to meeting with Mike Gill in the future and releasing damaging documents of the deep state that will expose them for the fraud and drug dealers they are. Mark my words to the deep state of New Hampshire and all across the nation. Your days of corruption are limited. We are anonymous. You can't sue me. I have no legal address. We do not forget. We do not forgive. Let's end corruption in the state of New Hampshire and across the nation. You better expect it to end. Please don't forget to like my video and subscribe to my channel. I am not affiliated with Mike Gill or his organization State of Corruption New Hampshire. I am Anonymous State of Corruption. Please like, follow, and support Mike Gill on his social media pages. Thank you.
Mike Gill, State of Corruption. I know you haven't heard from me in a little while. That's because the cartel had my phone, had my iPad, had my car, and credit card. Everything. You'll see Whistleblower, if you remember the last video. You remember I tried to tell you that I had a bad feeling that night? It was the cartel who met me, not U.S. Durham's people, but the cartel. They're sweeping. The evidence I gave them was whistleblower evidence, trying to get it to Durham. Instead, they met me. So I had to drop off, but I was busy. At that time that they couldn't trace me and couldn't find me, I put a stake in their heart, and I'm going to show you how I did it. But unfortunately, what I found was Republicans, Democrats, this deep state, this corruption involves them both. And more than you understand. What controls this country, what this deep state is. Let's think. Here's the definition of the deep state. A body of people influential in the government or the military, believed to be involved in manipulation. That's exactly what goes on. This deep state is twofold. Ready? One side, they sell protection. The other, they steal and rob from you. And the people they're protecting you are poisoning you through chemicals. The pharmaceutical companies are poisoning you with opioids. They need protection. You're going to see a post where it says, too big to prosecute. Opioids, McKesson, can kill hundreds of thousands of you. Ready? No one goes to jail. No one went to jail when the financial collapse. No big banks. Nobody went to jail. Right? Pharmaceutical companies killing 100,000. Nobody goes to jail. Caused a recession, the worst of our lifetime. Nobody goes to jail. There's a movie now, Dark Waters, where they talk about DuPont, a chemical, putting chemicals in the water for 40 years in a town of 70,000 people, knowing it was killing you. But they're protected. Is the danger of deep state and what they do. Now, who's the deep state? Well, it's twofold. It's a partnership. I believe corruption is the biggest industry and most profitable industry in this country. Ready? Have you ever seen so many politicians getting rich? Remember, Biden, the son's in Ukraine. Ukraine's the laundering center. Listen, I'm ass deep in Russians. I know, and I've told you this many times. That's why President Trump's over there. He's looking for their money. Why? To leverage them. Now remember, I'm going to get back to that, but both sides are corrupt. So they're working and protecting these industries. And the other is federal stealing. From education, from family court, you wonder why they're taking children. They're getting paid right out of Social Security. The leading cause of death in this country now, our life expectancy is going down. You'll see a post from the LA Times because of suicides, drug addiction. You know what that is? This corruption takes. The last thing they take from you before your life is hope. That's what's wrong here. Those are the people I've met by the thousands. That's how I put this together. Be surprised how many times you say you want to help somebody. You'd be surprised how many people need help. All right. Now you understand how it all works. The Rembrandt I painted, and you'll see me visiting the FBI. You'll see me going to the DEA. I was giving them absolute evidence. You'll see here, and I'll post it. You will see an inventory list given to U.S. Attorney Lowen. If he sounds familiar, it's because he's the one prosecuting the exam scam. You know, Lori Loughlin, I believe her name is. Yeah, they'll put her in jail. Whether you think she'd go to jail or not, I can tell you this criminal shouldn't be the one doing it. And Special Agent Ventola, let's see what they did. Now, many of you said, well, Mike, what are they not going to do anything? No. But I nailed them right back with a 91 Freedom of Information Act that tagged them with this evidence. So let's take a look briefly, and I'll have it posted. What evidence did I give him? By hand, U.S. Attorney Lowen. That little piece that says unknown, I put it under camera with a witness in his filthy little claws. Now let's see what he had. He had the IRS corruption. Remember? You'll see another a piece, and I'll put a video on it, or you can go to, where you hear the heads of the Treasury covered up in an investigation with the IRS that they were supposed to say was the worst corruption ever. You hear them on tape saying they have moles in my office, right? They're protecting themselves. So that IRS piece that U.S. Attorney Lowen has is those tapes, is that extortion. The mail fraud, you'll see those envelopes too. He owns that too, with an accountant, a brother of an FBI, a TITCA agent, the criminal division of the Treasury. Tom Morley, Curtis Morley. These guys aren't that bright. It's just that you generally don't have anybody to report it to. But there was the cover up there. Now Lowen has that. The U.S. Attorney prosecutes for the FBI. The Boston office is the biggest, largest, most powerful FBI office in the country. 5 states. 5 states. In fact, U.S. Attorney Durham investigated the Boston FBI for mob contacts. Right, you'll see that post. Guess what? They are the mob. You think the mafia? This is real organized crime at the highest level of our government. We live in a state of corruption. Okay? He owns it. This is an inventory list. What else did he say? Extortion? Right. Morris Mahoney lawsuit. He has a $50 million settlement offer for Morris Mahoney. But you'll see on that offer, and I want you to remember this. You ready? I want you to remember these names. Bill Shaheen, Alex Walker, Wiggins and Norrie, the DRA, Department of Revenue, the banking department, the banking commissioner, and the IRS. Now, why do they all want to pay me $50 million? Now, I told them, I'm not giving anybody releases. You bastards are going to jail. You're killing people, right? They never expected someone to say no. And for those who are just meeting me for the first time, I was someone that was homeless and became the world champion at thoroughbred racing. I was someone that went to school to be a priest and built the largest, most powerful brokerage firm in the United States. You see? And nothing have I worked on and so committed is this. Because with that same insight that made that money, had me look into the gates of hell. And I seen what they were doing. What are they saying? Our life expectancy is down. We're dying younger because of suicide and drugs. This is what I was fighting. Now let's go on. Let's check this list. What I'm telling you is I'm nailing down the FBI. Extortion. Attempts on my life. 3. 2 on video. You'll see a post with 1. You can go to Kill Gill and hear the hitman never refused a contract. There's no doubt. You can ask the FBI. They won't deny it. In fact, they tried to cover it up. The people who were involved, the FBI was covering for. They don't want you to know, but they have the evidence. Remember Whitey Bulger? You call the FBI and say, hey, this guy's a drug dealer and that witness got killed. It's the same today, folks. Same with the DEA. Okay, let's take a look some more. Organized crimes, another attempted murder, right? Let's go down the list. Insurance fraud, mail fraud, right? They only set up an accountant I never met for 3 years. Okay, so think about this. Look at the releases, all the which ones I've said. Now watch this, you ready? There was an investigation, paperwork that I just found. And it names all those people. You'll see Walker, my attorney. You'll see John Ross, Wiggins and Norrie, Divine Millimat again, right? Dallas Sedgwick, Ted Little, and again, Bill Shaheen. Maurice Gilbert from the DRA. So what I'm saying to you, this criminal thing that I'll post that you get to see, they caught them all. They were all here. Now wait, no, I just told you those names that they caught. I just told you those names that were on that settlement agreement. The investigation came, then the settlement agreement. All those names are on there. Now you ready? And stay with me. Now, when I found that drug cartel, I put their faces on my signs across my businesses because the FBI wouldn't do anything, the DEA wouldn't do anything. You'll see a video of me delivering evidence to the DEA. They say the largest arrest in this country was 254 pounds. I'm going to show you a small clip that I go into the DEA, give them the evidence, tell them it was coming out of the hospitals, the pharmacies, the treatment centers, the pain clinic that the cartel all owned, right? Short time afterwards, you see a tractor trailer load of fentanyl in the several tons. Wait a minute, didn't they say 254 pounds was the most? We're talking several tons to kill everybody everywhere. New Hampshire. Consider this a funnel. And this is a distribution center across this country. They're guarding this one of the smallest states, enclose it with an airport, trucking, and these people. And it's a distribution center of this country. How do you think you got an 80,000 capacity tractor trailer full of fentanyl, where the biggest arrest in history was 254 pounds? It is a distribution center, and it is coming out of those hospitals. You see that Jack Riley, in another small clip, turns around. He was the head of the DEA, flies to New Hampshire. Great day. And then he says, businessmen. What do you mean about businessmen and how, and he's considering it ground zero. He's telling you that it's coming out of the pain clinics, hospice care, treatment centers, without giving any of them up. Right. Nobody went to jail. Nobody got arrested, but they wanted to take kudos for the biggest bust in history anywhere. It wasn't a bust, it went back on the streets. I have a witness, Lindsay, right, Lindsay? Now I can say Lindsay, because she sent me a text message that said the U.S. Marshals, when they find me, are going to hurt me real bad and take their time. Isn't that so? I'll post it. See, that's a message to me. Guess what? There's no warrants on me. I haven't broken any crimes. She has a recording. Her boyfriend was in the distribution working directly with the FBI. See, they seize it and have a network that goes out. Okay, now think about this. All the attachments on my property, here they are, and you'll see it. You ready? Wiggins and Norrie. Well, wait a minute. They were on the releases. They were on the criminal investigation. Walker, the same. The DRA, the same. The cartel was represented by Shaheen, who's on the investigation and the settlement offers, including my ex, who the cartel's been paying her bills these last few years, right, out of a hospice center. I have proof and witnesses. So, everybody in this investigation that shows of this extortion and corruption of the deep state, again, is on a settlement agreement for $50 million, and again, is on the attachments to my properties to get paid. Did you watch the movie Casino? Do you remember when the guys, De Niro, said they got 2 jackpots? Said, you know what the odds of that happening? It can't happen. That's the extortion. That's what happens when you say no to $50 million. They weren't going to take me to court. They were going to settle out of court, which is why they tried to kill me 3 times in 13 days. Isn't that so, FBI? You filthy bastards. You have all that information. You have those tapes, and you have the computer, and you've covered up all of it. Okay? So in other words, now think about this. We've got now the FBI with this evidence. They own it. We've got the IRS in their tapes, in their extortion, in their releases. They own it. We have the drug cartel and the protection of the deep state with Bill Shaheen. Don't forget who Bill Shaheen is. I'll post that. He's married to Senator Jean Shaheen. He was the campaign manager of Hillary Clinton. And he's married to that senator. He's the cash register. You understand how they get this? Biden's son was in the Ukraine, which is why they launder money into Ukraine, which is exactly why I've got Russians all over the place. The first murder attempt that broke into my hotel under camera was a Russian, right? Because I found their money and I know how they launder it, but I'll explain. Okay, so let's think. We got the FBI, we got the IRS. Now, the drug cartel, the FBI has this too, and the information with the DEA that I've given you. You see that deep state? There you go, right? And they're protecting Shaheen because he's part of the deep state. Now, think about this. Now, let me bring this home for you and why this is so important. I put this all in place. I put it with Durham. I put it with Barr. For them to make one mistake and I would own them all. And guess what? These bastards slipped. They got greedy. The cartel wanted a photo op with the president. The president sent Mike Pence, the vice president, instead. Airplane going to Manchester, New Hampshire. You know what they were going to do? Shake Aganos's hand, the head of the drug cartel who owns Granite State Recovery. Remember? You're going to see from the DRA that Kelly, who comes in after I show up the video full of it and they get all those drugs, turned around and said, it's coming from businessmen. The drugs were coming from businessmen? I don't know. Do you call the owners of treatment centers businessmen, hospice care businessmen? I think so. All right. So they stopped that plane in the air. You're going to see a post with one of my videos that I called it before anybody called it. I knew it was going to happen because I know Trump was taking my evidence too. You're going to love the rest of this. So that stopped the plane. And then President Trump, you'll see a post. I'm going to tell you why that plane stopped in 2 weeks. Why would it take 2 weeks? Why was it such a mystery? Because it was a drug cartel and they had to use it and play it. Right? What can this get me? Well, let me tell you what it got them. Let me tell you what we didn't get. If you get that Granite State, you get the ownership of that cartel. You get their bank, primary bank, St. Mary's Credit Union, right? Granite State Credit Union. That's what they control. Remember, I was in the mortgage business, #1 in the country. You don't think I know money laundering? Why do you think the banking department's on this list for a release? Banking department don't audit, and these guys set up and hide their money, launder their money, send it offshore, and nobody knows. Those were the banks. So again, you get the cartel, you get their bank. You get their bank, you get the banking commissioner. Little, like in Little Corrupt. You'll see the video. And what I'm asking you to do, you'll see these certain posts. Go to those videos and look at it. Now let's think about this. You ready? Who appointed him? Governor Sununu. You'll see me before I'm running for governor, as they're trying to murder me. And there's Sununu. And you see me confront him and say, the banking commissioner before was an insurance defender. They're laundering drug money. They were involved in a Ponzi scheme, Shaheen's Ponzi scheme. The same guy on this releases, the same banking commissioner on these releases, 50 million again. Was Sununu's boy. Sununu became governor by leveraging the corrupt with their own money. Don't forget, Daddy was the lead advisor for George Bush Sr. Right. This guy's in the Bush family. They've got plans for this corrupt bastard. In fact, you'll see another post from Breitbart, who just suggested and explained that 3 terrorist groups involved in 9/11 financed the family's ski resort. Can someone explain that? He took money from 3 terrorist groups to buy a mountain. All right. So let me take you back. Plane stop, Trump's with 2 weeks. 2 weeks later, we hear this guy Hatch, an ex-football player, New York Giants, the face of Granite State Recovery. He's on the campaign trail with Senator Jeanne Shaheen, right? He works in the treatment center, except for 2 years ago, he was busted for fentanyl and drugs. They all knew that. Drug dealer works for a drug cartel. This guy's the face of the treatment center. Do you think they keep him around? They had to throw you a fish. Say, oh, it wasn't a drug cartel, it was a drug dealer. Bullshit, he worked for a drug cartel. Think about this, you ready? Him instantly went to jail afterwards. It was a cover-up. You know who broke the story? Wasn't Trump, who said 2 weeks. What's it been, 4 months? It was a guy named Spinner, ironically. Turned around and says, oh, this is why they stopped, because they didn't want to meet a drug dealer. They could have fired the son of a bitch or arrested him. They didn't stop Pence's plane, now did it? You see, they had to give you something. So here it is. They cut a deal. Spinner turned around and told you that. Spinner was the editor for the Manchester Union Leader, the same corrupt newspaper that hates Trump, that Trump's called a rag. Also made Aganoff Citizen of the Year, selling drugs. Okay? So in other words, now we had them. Trump didn't take the shot. Instead, you'll see where he goes to Manchester, kisses Sununu right on the ass, and he turns around and says, you didn't vote for me before. You didn't like me before. Either did your dad. You like me now? Seeing I can put your ass in jail. And I get a drug cartel. I get Shaheen. But you know what? Trump goes, I need those Republican senators to vote in my favor. So if I can leverage the Bush candidate, what they say, the 5th most liked governor in the country, they're seasoning this pinhead to be the president. So Trump gives him a pass, and he gets the Republican votes. What happened to draining the swamp? Remember, we're drowning in that swamp. What happened to death penalty for drug dealers? Death penalty, you gave them a pass. Right. Remember New Hampshire, a drug den? You know how you got that evidence? In fact, you went on your campaign speech, New Hampshire, drug-infested den. New Hampshire protected by businessmen and dirty politicians in the state for the drug cartel. Who gave you that? Well, that was me now, wasn't it, President Trump? In fact, this story is going to get even more interesting. Do you know who was my first contact with President Trump that I handed all this evidence over to with a state senator, a representative, and 2 other witnesses? One had a video camera, just in case you want to not tell the truth. You ready? Corey Lewandowski. For those of you who don't know, Corey Lewandowski was his campaign manager. Right. So he knew. And I had several other contacts. Right after the inauguration, I was thinking, and they had me think that I was going to Washington. We were going to break this deep state. We were going to get the FBI, all of them. And then nothing. I went to bar, I went to there, thinking you were working on it, but you were being extorted. And you took my evidence and you traded. Now think about this. You ready? Now, Lewandowski, your campaign manager, my contact. You remember, a gentleman by the name of Patrick Howley. You'll see 3 separate clips of a 3-hour interview that I had with him recently in Washington. Right, I told you I was busy. They didn't see me go to Washington. I went to Epoch Times. You'll see another clip. Trump trusts Epoch Times more than any media group. That's his people. You'll see another image, profile, of Stephen Gregory, the bureau chief of Epoch Times. That's who I met with. Showed him the evidence. Showed him all of it. Was he interested? You're damn right he was interested. Gives me a card and a telephone number. And I am to call and contact what he told me was an investigator. His name was, ready, Patrick Howley. Well, that didn't grab me much in the beginning, but then I Googled him, and I want you to Google him, and I'll put a series of posts that you can turn around and look at. So let's follow me with Patrick Howley. I'm bringing this home, people. Ready? He exposed Jeanne Shaheen for the corruption and targeting enemies with the IRS. He broke the story. So when I say Shaheen extorted me and leveraged me and extorted me with the IRS, show him a $50 million settlement offer, right? You think he believed me? You're damn right he believes me. You know what the president says? You know what Brady calls the president? The president goes, get his information. We've been using it this whole fucking time. Now, think about this. Patrick Howley comes to meet me, the one who broke the story on Shaheen. Okay? So we know that's a fact. Now let's take a look. You're going to see where I've talked to him about the drug cartel. You're going to show the end clip where I'm asking for protection for these whistleblowers. Listen, you know what real whistleblowers? They wind up dead. This bullshit you're hearing now is exactly what that is. Whistleblowers here wind up dead. Look around. Ask Julian Assange how it is to be a whistleblower. Okay? All right. So now, let's keep following Patrick Howley. He breaks the story against Shaheen during the presidential election. IRS. Bang. Patrick Howley then goes to work for Breitbart. Breitbart, which Steve Bannon was the editor, he went from Lewandowski campaign manager to Bannon, right? Or one of the advisors. So this guy's working with Bannon at Breitbart. He's covering the president and Lewandowski. Well, wait a minute. Lewandowski's my contact. Howley's working with Lewandowski. Interesting. In fact, Howley gets suspended because Lewandowski grabbed a reporter's arm. You'll see a photo. You'll see the fingerprints. And Howley covered for him. And Breitbart suspended him. Okay? And believe me, that was just for show. But we got Howley with the IRS and Shaheen. We got Howley with Lewandowski, my contact. and Lewandowski, protecting Lewandowski, fell on his knife to save him from grabbing that reporter from his own company. And then he goes to a couple other places, right? Follow the clips that I'm going to show you. Big league politics. Howley owned it. He even admits to sending people into Clinton's campaigns to cause problems. You understand? But Howley is working with, you know who's working with Howley? Roger Stone. And if he owns it, it means Roger Stone worked for him. Roger Stone just went to jail. Now listen, I supported Trump more than anybody because of draining the swamp, and I believed him. And I'm not telling you Biden is the deep state. I'm not telling you we have a better choice, but it's time someone tells you the truth. Okay, so now Howley, big league politics, is an attack group of strong right and working with the president to fulfill his thing. Now, his agenda. You see that. Okay. Then Howley went to work for Epoch Times. See, he's maintained that course. Shaheen in the IRS, Corey Lewandowski. Do you think he's going to help? Now, Corey Lewandowski now is going to run for senator in New Hampshire. We got a problem. We can't announce because Mike Gill was his contact. He knows the evidence. Howley turns around now and protects him, just feeding them right back. You're going to see that Lewandowski has a secret meeting with Sununu, or a private meeting. You'll see the Pope, not secret. Why? Because that's the deal. Trump saves Sununu. Sununu is not only going to support the president, it's going to support Lewandowski. Listen, they want to take Shaheen out, Senator Jean Shaheen. She is the deep state. But they put their own people in. See? No one turned around and took out a drug cartel in the billions. They could have built that wall. No one turned around and went after the IRS and said, how dare you extort the American people here and use criminally? How can the DEA support and sell drugs? Right? That's what's going on. Nobody gave you that. They're playing politics. Now listen, you ready? By following that path, you would have got Sununu, you would have got the banks and the banking commissioner, and you would have got your money laundering. What's going on is the Ukraine is the laundering. Why do you think there was a post where Clinton turns around and said, Trump gets elected, we're all going to jail? Why don't you ask the question? You know why they're going to jail? Because they've been stealing and robbing and laundering. Listen, it isn't the hardest thing is stealing the money. The hardest thing isn't getting the money for protection. What's difficult is where do you put the billions? Which is why you need a Ukraine. Which is why I also have one of my witnesses. You'll see a video called Message from the Cartel, a guy named Paris Sparrow. International. Every month this guy's in Moscow, in Dubai, Istanbul, and he owns a tiny pizza place in a seasonal town in Maine. Hello? Russians, guns, drugs. It's a marriage of all of it. It's laundering and drug and machine with the Russians, the cartel, and the pharmaceutical companies throughout this country, which is why fentanyl, and you'll see the truck full of fentanyl in factory boxes. Okay. So now let's think. I had each and every one in place. FBI, DEA, everything. The president knows, and which is why he kept using in his campaign speech. Lewandowski was my contact. And now, just last week, I met Howley, and now you know who Howley is. You know who Brady is. You know who Epoch Time is. Are you telling me the president doesn't know? Of course they know.
This evidence. You see all these emails?
Mike Gill, State of Corruption.
Emails and the settlement offers.
And who offered you a settlement?
Liberty International, the lawyers of Morris Mahoney. Now, Morris Mahoney pretended to be my lawyers to get through statute of limitations. That's what Marisa will tell you. You ready? They offered me $50 million on the settlements. Let's take a look at that book.
I mean, in what context did they offer you a settlement? You were suing them?
What they did was, by covering all that up, I wasn't suing them, I was trying to put them in jail. I was using Morris Mahoney, and you'll hear recordings saying, because they could get me a case with the FBI. That's what they were for. They sat on it to get past that statute of limitations. It turns out Liberty, who offered the $50 million, is their biggest client in the world. Okay? So they are on it, and that settlement is signed. Now think about this. You know who's on that settlement? Bill Shaheen. You know who's on it? The banking department, the banking commission, the Department of Revenue. Every lawyer that I had through the divorce, through the business, all requesting their releases, including the IRS.
Okay, so just go back to this. So how do they offer you a settlement if you're not suing
There
them?
it is. Why? How about this? I didn't have to sue them. I just was going to put them in jail.
So they preemptively offered you.
What happened was, when they turned around and I caught them, they wanted me to go, and I have recordings, Nick Alexander, to go to a hotel room, never to meet all the other people involved. And they wanted to settle. And I said, I'm not doing it. Simple put. And you'll see the emails to verify that. You ready? I said, I will not give you a release. It wasn't about the money, it was about the releases. And you'll see coinciding emails that saying, I wouldn't take it. You'll see a tape from Married from the Mob. The woman was there to offer me $50 million, and she admitted it.
Just to be clear, in offering you a $50 million settlement, who specifically offered you that?
Liberty. Here it is. You know, understand this. What they do is they wanted me to what it is a stipulation and confidentiality agreement. Don't tell anybody. Now let's take a look, right? The wife's attorney, my attorney, all these attorneys. Look. Matt Kozel, Alex Walker wants a release. Justice, Maria, all these people want a release. And what for? All right? Markman, Divine Miller, Lisa Tracy. She was my controller, the one that was working for Shaheen. Tim Powell. He was the head of the IRS from Portland who told me that it was Gene Shaheen. Think about that. His name's on that release. They know he told me.
So who's Liberty?
As an insurer, you ever heard of Liberty Mutual?
Yeah.
You know who the parent company of Liberty Mutual is? Liberty.
So the parent company of Liberty Mutual offered
Liberty,
you.
yeah. Here's Bill Shaheen, by the way, on the settlement.
They wanted you to sign a contract saying that you wouldn't talk about this kind of corruption anymore, this drug running and stuff like that.
Right. All done.
And
So I could
this company, Liberty, was going to pay you $50 million to get you to stop talking about this.
settle. Well, not just stop talking, settle for any potential claims. So, well, and they say that. A settlement, a global settlement to aim, and look at all the people who are on this. These are witnesses. Look, William McCulley, Divine Millimat, Wiggins and Norrie, Internal Revenue, Banking Department, DRA, Friedman.
So these are witnesses for who?
And it's signed. No, these are all people asking, this company's asking for releases. Every attorney, every accountant, every single one needed a release. You know why? It was one giant operation. How it got giant? Because every time they wanted me to settle, I said no. They're going to prosecute and hold El Chapo in Bedford, New Hampshire, the home of Dick Aganov's. Now, the same Bedford DEA that I brought a witness list to saying, listen, I had 46 witnesses that were in court. I had many more, but they were more sensitive. I didn't want to make them public. Can you protect them? Gave them the evidence, right? From the hotel, I said from the hospitals, from the pharmacies. Nothing. You'll see them. 2 weeks later, tractor trailer load of fentanyl. 80,000 pound capacity truck. Front to back of fentanyl. The largest bust in the history of this country is 254 million, with the possibility of killing 100 million people, right? The head of the DEA flies to New Hampshire. They make a big public spectacle. Say, look what we did. And the guy I gave the evidence to, John Delaner, he's front and center on the television. Now, we have all this recorded. Saying they got this. You ready? In several tons.
So what year is this?
Several tons. With 3 years ago.
3 years ago.
Maybe 2.5. So understand this. Those several tons, as we talked about it, with just 3 tons, could kill 2.4 billion people. Now, ready? Why isn't that the number one bust? Why isn't the Kelly had to come down, the head of the DEA, to announce it? Where did it go? Who did they get it from? Who went to jail? That's the biggest bust in the history of this country by multiple times. It came from this cartel. Understand this. People say this is New Hampshire. This is a distribution center. They got a small state that's fully leveraged and controlled. You have an airport, right? You turn around and you become the distribution center. And also the laundering of the money center. That's in control. It's harder to do it in a big state. Think about this in business. It's easier to control that small. But it's distribution. I have people who work for them who own trucking companies who go directly to Laredo, Texas. Are you all right?
I'm fine. I'm just trying to figure out what's going on.
Here's my license, right?
Mr. Gill?
Gill, yes,
Okay.
and Mike Gill,
Okay.
running for governor.
What can I help you?
Well, see, we mailed that. You see that address right there? Right there. That's you, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, good. You got a package. Here's the delivery, by the way.
Okay.
You see what this package is? This gives hard evidence about the drug dealers
Okay.
and sponsoring it. You see? These are the offenses. Now, we've got a court case. You don't know about the court case with Antigos, Cruz?
No.
Did you know that they were the biggest drug dealers in New England?
Is that in here?
It is in there.
Okay. So what would you like me to do?
We've got 45 witnesses that need protection.
Okay.
That we're in court right now with Judge Delker in Brentwood.
Okay.
We need the protection. You're going to see text messages in there.
Okay.
Deliveries from Boston, in the Lawrence, in the Salem, moved by motorcycles.
Could I just ask you another question?
Yeah.
If you're here to give me some information, I have no idea who this young man is. Why don't we shut the camera off and have a discussion?
Why can't we have it? Because this is why, okay? It's been my experience.
Right.
There's been cover-up after cover-up.
Okay. But
You're-
have you...
Used and trafficked by Chinese organized crime and Mexican cartels, and calls the availability.
And I think we got the fucking Russians too.
Usually, for instance, the cartels would transit another major city, but some of our investigations are actually seeing people that live in this general region dealing directly with cartel members along the border.
Riley was full of praise Monday.
Well, wait a minute. What did he just say? He said that these cartels are working with people inside, like businessmen, that own car dealerships, that own your treatment centers, that these news and media outlets have made to look like citizens of the year. That's what makes New Hampshire different, he was saying. Now, haven't I been telling you that? Exactly that. And I told them that, too. But go on, Jack.
Boxes from National Drug Takeback Day were loaded into trucks. Several tons of unused drugs collected from 103 locations. He's here this Red Ribbon Week to thank law enforcement and the state's top-down efforts.
People do commit burglaries to steal people's medications. Kids will take them, bring them to parties, and give them to their friends. And it could take just one pill to make somebody have an appetite for pain medication. I'm sure there's a lot of...
How stupid is Willard? Really? One cup. Listen, we gave him a package. They're all lying. You're going to see in this video, you see this guy? His name is John. That's all we knew. We gave him a package. You see me videotape it. I told them the routes, who they were doing it, who was protecting it. You're going to see this play afterwards. Here's John now.
Things in there that would lead to a lot of abuse issues, and today's a great day for law enforcement because this stuff is safely getting turned in.
Great day. I've only been giving you this for years. You know what's funny? Donald Trump mentions New Hampshire has the worst epidemic. And think about it. We have the biggest drug bust. You think that's coincidental? I don't.